Learn how to create, sustain, and scale up your print-on-demand business with the latest tips, guides, and strategies to help you start selling and making money today. Welcome to the Sales on Demand Show. And here's your host, Adam Schneider.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Sales on Demand Show. I'm Adam Schneider, human puddle of water right now, and this is episode 75. Today we're going to be talking about 3 ways to get more sales and 1 way to not get more sales. So let's begin. So I am sitting in my office right now and I feel like a candy that's been left in a car. Like everything is sticky. And that's because it's actually hot here in Canada, which is, yes, it does get hot here. And sometimes it stays hot for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And the problem is that us Canadians, every single year, we say to ourselves, okay, next year I'm going to buy that air conditioner. And then September comes and it starts to snow. Yeah, it can snow in the first half of September. And actually, I fully expect it to. I don't think I can remember a September in the last, decade where it didn't snow at some point in September. Even if it just snows and melts right away, it always snows. And so, we always kind of get to that point and then we forget that air conditioning is a thing and then nobody's selling it anymore. By the time we need it, you can't find one. So here I am sitting in our hot house and it's in the 90s. Fahrenheit, 34 degrees Celsius. It's been this way for an entire week, and I'm finding it to be a struggle to actually get anything done because it just drains your energy. But no matter what, I'm always bringing you the good stuff on the podcast. I've got some really good stuff for you this week. In addition to all of that, I am practicing working from home. Since, as I alluded to a couple weeks ago, I have accepted a position as a coach in a training program. I don't actually know what this training program is called. I think it's called, it's something e-commerce mentorship. I'm not trying to be like a smart ass. I actually don't know what it's called. But I just know that I'm one of the coaches and I'm very excited to get going doing this. So I'm going to be retiring from my long career in law enforcement. I am sticking with the military because, it's not that much of a commitment, but you'll definitely see more of me online, and I'll be working on this training program that I'm building, and I will be, if you sign up for this coaching program, you get to see me, my face, in person. And hopefully I'll have a link for you guys to sign up for that coaching program. I think it's going to be an amazing program, and it's going to help a lot of people, quite frankly. So, what is currently selling? Well, obviously masks are selling. They, last week, maybe not last week, but the week before, they got real hot for about a week. And now masks are kind of just steady. So I'm selling between 8 and 15 per day. And that's been going on for, 3-4 weeks now, almost. Back to school stuff as well. In many cases, kids are going back to physical classes. And this year, of course, is going to be just an absolute gong show. I even saw a picture in Utah where kids are going to band class and they have to wear a mask with a slit cut in it to play their instrument, and then they're covering the bell. For a trumpet you got the bell, a saxophone, and all of these instruments. They're covering the part where the noise comes out with cloth to avoid the airflow from spreading. Can I just tell you that that's absolutely stupid? It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. There is constantly information coming out about children, how they're basically a healthy kid, it's no more dangerous for them to get COVID than the flu. In fact, it's significantly less dangerous. And people are always surprised when I tell them that every single year in the United States, 180 kids die of the flu. And again, it's the same risk factors. If you have immunocompromised body, I guess, then you might be more susceptible to that. If you're healthy, you don't have any comorbidities, you're a normal weight, you don't have any surgeries or pre-existing issues, then you are not likely to die of COVID-19, and kids are the least likely. So this whole school thing is driving me crazy, of course. Here in Alberta, the kids have to wear masks if they're outside of their classroom, which is super popular with my daughter, and my son doesn't seem to care, so that's fine. I mean, we'll get through it, right? It's just driving us all crazy. When we hear people protesting school opening. On one hand, homeschooling is far superior in terms of the amount of actual education that you get. But on the other hand, pretending that something is dangerous to children when it's clearly not that dangerous is driving me crazy. And it just makes me want to turn off social media, to be honest. All right, so enough of my ranting. So obviously that brings us to another hot topic, and that is politics. So the Democratic National Convention officially picked Joe Biden as their candidate. So I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, he is the candidate, right? We knew he was going to be the candidate, but they hadn't officially picked him until, I believe, last night. So it's the 19th of August. Of course, you probably won't see Joe Biden doing any debates. Donald Trump in a debate would probably he'd tear him limb from limb. So it's smart of Joe Biden to not debate Donald Trump. So it's going to be a strange year, but politics is going to be a hot topic. And this year is going to be particularly fierce because Donald Trump is one of the candidates. And even though Donald Trump and Joe Biden have 95% the same policies, meaning that the things that they actually do, when they, the laws that they support, the policies they support are basically the same. Donald Trump is a crazy person. And sometimes his crazy is refreshing, and sometimes it's like, huh? What? You didn't just say that, did you? So, of course, the latest thing is that there's a conspiracy that he's trying to shut down the post office. Yeah. But listen, in every single controversy, there is an opportunity to make sales. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in this episode. But I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that you can get a free video and weekly tips when you join my email list, plus information that is not included in the weekly podcast. And a reminder again, I have a coaching and training program coming up that is launching in September. This is my program using all of the tips and things that I have discovered to be working. And I'm sharing everything. I am literally not holding a single thing back, other than that I'm not giving every single one of my winning products away because they're still selling right now, and I would be crazy to do that. I am telling you guys, and I'm even giving you some of the products that are selling, and some of them that are selling really well, just as to kind of inspire you. That's coming up in September, and you can get alerted to that when you join my email list. Go to salesondemandshow.com/start. START. Start. So get your email in there, get that free video, and start getting those weekly tips. Plus, be notified when that course is launched. All right, well, let's get into this. So I got 3 tips and 1 anti-tip for you, and you really need to pay attention, especially to the anti-tip, the thing that you should not do. We'll come to that at the very end here, because I almost fell for something, and I'm sure glad I didn't. But the very first thing, and this all comes from actually a listener to the show who's sort of become a friend of mine. He's a good fellow. and he's one of these guys, and I've met a few of these guys who kind of overthink things a lot. I don't know if you've ever met somebody who overthinks things, but they look at something that is happening, they try to dig deep into why things are happening, and they end up digging too deeply, and they see things that either aren't there, or they just get confused about, why does this work? So people will sometimes come on and they'll say, oh yeah, all you need to do to sell is list hundreds of items, or all you need to do to sell is find what is already selling and make a version of it that's uniquely yours and sell that. And people are looking at that and they're like, well, what should I start with? I don't know what to do here. So I've got three simple things. And I always say simple, I don't say easy. In fact, you will almost never find me using the word easy in either my training or the podcast, because I understand how simple things sometimes are not easy. When I get up in the morning, I always have this idea of what I'm going to do for the day, and it's always something that's very simple, like list 10 of these things. But it's never that easy when you actually get into it, because there's distractions, there's, your motivation might be waning, and it might be super hot out, and that will sap your energy. So I never say easy. I do say simple. All right, so the first thing is listing a ton of simple ideas without researching any of them too deeply. So this is also known as the low-hanging method from my mentor, and probably going to be sort of an employer of mine, Rachel Raffay, who is the person who kind of got me into this whole print-on-demand thing in the beginning. No, I wouldn't say kind of. I would say definitely got me into this 100%. And her training program is based around the idea of listing a ton of very simple ideas, all text-based, and, nothing fancy, not, 3 different fonts, maybe at most 2 different fonts. So you find a bunch of phrases, and maybe you take a phrase that looks good, that you can put a bunch of different words into it. You can swap out a word. So I'll give you one here. This one I saw the other day, and I screenshotted it because I wanted to use it. And I'll tell you what it is. It's, if you think I'm cute now, you should see me on my motorcycle. So the word motorcycle in that phrase can easily be swapped out for literally anything. You can be like, if you think I'm cute now, you should see me on my horse. You should see me on my my snowmobile. You should see me on my Sea-Doo. You should see me, I don't know, on my hot air balloon. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can replace that word with, and you can have a bunch of listings that are very simple, and they don't take too much time to create. Now, for this, I like to use a program called Mug Samurai, and I understand that for some of you guys, if you're just getting started, this isn't something that you're going to want to do because it costs money to use this program, but and I've been waiting for something like this to come up for 3 years. So it finally did. A fellow named Leonardo, believe he's from Italy, but he created this from scratch on his own. Like, he programmed the entire thing. There's just him doing it. And he actually came up with an idea that is brilliant. So what he did is he created a program where you just put in a text phrase, and then you tell the program what color you want the text to be and what font you want it to be, and it basically puts it onto a coffee mug. So before this, in order to create these simple listings, you had to create a template using a program like Photoshop, PicMonkey, Inkscape, and then you would delete the phrase or delete the word that you wanted, put in a new word, download the PNG image, and upload it to Gearbubble or whatever. Gearbubble is the easiest one to upload hundreds of ideas onto coffee mugs, and this is something that you should do with coffee mugs. T-shirts, you could do it with t-shirts, but it's easier and more effective to do it with coffee mugs. So even though that was quite simple to do, and I actually had someone that I hired to be uploading these template designs, Leonardo created this program, Mug Samurai, which saves even the small amount of time that it takes to do all of that. And he's now put in a whole bunch of new fonts, and some of these fonts are pretty sweet. Like there's one font called Amatic, and it's a very popular font. You'll see it all the time on Etsy. It's a very common font. People really like it on coffee mugs, and so I've been using this font for pretty much everything that I create because it just looks good. And I just the other day I created 100 brand new designs that I'm currently uploading to Amazon, and it took me about 25 minutes to do this, so it's really fast. I'm going to include a link for anybody who wants to try this out. Find that in the show notes. It's called Mug Samurai. Highly recommend it. He's got 3 different levels of subscription, and it goes from like I forget how much it costs, but it's not, super cheap, but it is a hugely useful and very practical program to do. So you can find that in the show notes. So if you don't want to do that, you can always use lists of professions, hobbies, yearly events, and family quotes. So these are the 4 things, and I'll say that again: professions, hobbies, yearly events, and family-themed quotes. So those are the 4 things that I would use to make a ton of simple ideas and do this thing. If you want to find ideas, so here's the thing that people always get screwed up on. When you're doing this, you need to find buyer-oriented ideas. Okay, so a lot of people, they go out and they just randomly create these designs, but they might be creating designs for things that nobody's looking for. So what you need to do, and you don't need merchant words to do this, but it is a useful program. It costs, I think, $30 a month. There's another program called Etsy Rank. That's great for Etsy. It won't help you much with Amazon, but I mean, most people get started with Etsy, so that's a good way to go. And merchant words, I think, is $30 a month. Etsy Rank is only $10. It's super cheap, and it's really, really, really packed with features. In fact, if you're using Etsy, it just really makes sense to subscribe to Etsy Rank. And I'll put a link in the show notes for that one too. It's just etsyrank.com, and it gives you lots and lots of buyer-oriented keywords and gives you an idea of things that people are searching for. So you want to create ideas that people are searching for. Now, you can just assume that people are searching for professions and hobbies, right? So you don't have to research to see if people are looking for fishing quotes, because you already know that they are. Lots of people like fishing, lots of people like hiking, camping, and all of those kinds of things. So when you find a list of professions, you only need to plug those professions into some kind of quote and then put that quote on a mug or some other type of product and list it. For anything else, if Merchant Words tells you that, say, people are looking for, like, I'm trying to think of something here, like, something that Trump said or some other idea, you can always confirm it using Amazon. So what I do is I'll open Amazon.com and I'll type in the phrase and see what comes up. So if you see coffee mugs and t-shirts come up, you know that people are searching for that, and the market has responded by, people are producing products that have that idea on it. So, all right, so that's enough of the low-hanging system, and hopefully I explained that in a way that was not too confusing. But you can always join me in the low-hanging system training. And Rachel has done an amazing job of creating videos, And you can find that at salesondemandshow.com/LHS. And you'll see a video where I review it, and I show you kind of what the program is and how I use it, and you can join me. So the second thing that I do to find sales, to make those sales, is finding a trend and piggybacking off of it. So there's two aspects to this that you're going to find. First is politics, and the second is culture. So here's an example. TV show quotes. One thing that kind of popped up over the pandemic season, if we can call that a pandemic season, is that show Tiger King. So Netflix, of course, being the only thing that people were able to do when they were locked down, they had this show called Tiger King, and it was, I don't know, I haven't even watched the show. It looks stupid to me, and if something looks stupid, I'm not going to waste my time watching it. But apparently it was kind of interesting, and so there was a couple of quotes from the Tiger King that just became viral. And one of them had a bad word in it, so I'm not going to repeat it. But if you want to look up something with Carol, you'll see a lot of quotes involving someone named Carol. I don't even know who this Carol person is, but apparently the Tiger King does not like her. So, all very confusing to me. The whole show, again, like I said, it looks stupid, but man, people on Etsy were really going nuts over this. And you'll still see a few references to Tiger King in some Etsy designs. I think the trend kind of died off pretty quickly, but for a while it was pretty hot. So things like that can be very, very useful to use. Now there's another one from a TV show called Friends, and you will see this. The TV show Friends went off the air, I think, in 2003, which is, I mean, it might as well be like, you know, the Dark Ages. It's a million years ago. 17 years ago, the TV show went off the air. People love the show. And so there's a new, I wouldn't call it a new trend, but it seems to come back quite frequently, where people will create designs using that font and the little colored dots in between them. So if you see that, that is a direct reference to the show Friends, which was one of my favorite TV shows, actually, so I can appreciate how this trend has spread. Now, you might be wondering, can I use that font and use those colored dots? Well, you can buy the font, and as far as I can tell, they have not trademarked that sort of style. So something like that would be fine, and you'll see tons and tons and tons of sellers using that Friends type font with the colored dots in between the letters, and making all sorts of, like, I saw one for graduation. There's, quarantine. They're not related to the TV show Friends, but it uses the font. And so that is a trend that you can piggyback off of. All you got to do is go and buy that font and use it, buy the commercial license to use the font. I don't know where you'd find it, but just look up Friends font commercial use, and you'll probably find it pretty quickly. People seem to like that because people like the TV show, and the font kind of reminds them of that TV show. So with politics, this is a real easy one. Basically, anytime Trump opens his mouth or tweets literally anything, there's a trend that follows from it. And sometimes these trends are like short-lived. Maybe this post office thing is one of those trends. To be honest with you, it's so stupid. But these trends, they produce sales. People are looking for these trends. You will actually see searches for these trends if you look on Amazon and Etsy Rank. You will find these things trending. Politics is going to be huge this year, so ignoring politics, it's going to cost you some money. I mean, it's not going to cost you, I don't know, but you'd be crazy to ignore it. Now, maybe if you're like me and you don't live in the United States, some of this seems kind of arcane to you. Well, you don't have to do politics, but it is going to be a huge thing. And, if you live in the United Kingdom, you can do local politics as well. So here's one thing I'll share with you, something political that happened in Canada and that I made some money off of. We have a prime minister who is kind of like Donald Trump in that he says weird things, but the things that Justin Trudeau says, they don't usually even make sense at all. Like, Donald Trump has at least a train of thought where he's, sometimes he thinks out loud, but at least he has a train of thought that you can understand. But sometimes when Justin Trudeau is speaking, it just like the train just flies off the track, and instead of going into the water, it just goes up into the air, floats around for a little bit, and then dives off a cliff. So, a little while ago, Justin Trudeau was telling people how to, why wearing a mask can be useful, and he said the words "speaking moistly," and it instantly became a meme. So, me being a dirty capitalist, I saw this and I thought, "Ooh, I need to make some money off of this." So I made something related to the "speaking moistly" thing, and probably got 30, 40 sales out of it. So it wasn't like this crazy bestseller, but it made me some money. So that is finding a political trend and piggybacking off of it for as long as you can. And this is great for anybody who is like me. You're going to be doing this full time. Now it's more difficult if you don't have a lot of time and you're not really keeping an eye on culture. You might be better off just sticking with the low-hanging system where you're just finding evergreen quotes and using those. But if you have some time, you can make a lot of money off of politics and culture. So the last thing, and this is something that you are going to need time for, is customization for evergreen events. And I see these ads and I see these products all over Etsy. They're being advertised like crazy on Facebook. So new baby, new relationship, new marriage, anniversary stuff, a new pet, a pet that passed away that you want to commemorate. So these are customized products where, it's going to take you some time to create these things. It could be customized names. In fact, that's probably the best way to start, is just customizing names. But the way to do research for this is to go on Facebook, and every time you see a ad for a t-shirt or a coffee mug, click on the ad, leave a comment, leave a like, click the buy button, but don't buy it. Just click the buy button and then maybe add it to cart. And basically what that does is tell Facebook that you are a potential buyer for these kinds of products, and Facebook will begin to show you hundreds and hundreds of advertisements for customized mugs and t-shirts and blankets and everything. So that is the way that I get a lot of good ideas, and I absolutely use those ideas. That's how it works, right? When something is trending in the market, usually the Facebook guys will find it first, and they'll make advertisements for it, and they'll scale it to the moon, make a lot of money off of it, and then you and I will see it. So that is the last thing that I'm going to talk about here. I'm going to tell you the story of the thing that you should not do. Okay? So there is somebody, and I'm not going to use this person's name or tell you anything about them because I don't see any reason to do that. But this person is doing really, really well on Etsy. And they shared their success in one of the Facebook groups that I'm part of. And they're using Etsy ads to kind of really ramp up their sales. And I was kind of excited when I saw that, because that's something that I've been looking to do myself, is really use Etsy ads to get sales really moving. When you find a product that sells really well, Etsy ads can turn what is a good product into a great product. it's not going to sell things that aren't already selling, so don't get too excited. But anyway, so I was like, okay, well, hey, listen, I'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe. And I just kind of left it at that. So one of our listeners, who is a very, very smart person, again, I'm not going to share names here, but this guy's good at finding information. He's like a digital detective, and I really appreciate that he did this. He contacted me directly and said, hey, listen, this guy is using trademarked images for his stuff, and he gave me a link to his store on Etsy. So I looked at it, and I saw Harry Potter, I saw like Disney stuff, Star Wars stuff. So basically what this person is doing is they're creating products based on trademarked things that are like legitimately trademarked. I need to emphasize this to you guys because this question comes up all the time. You cannot refer to or use or even imply a connection to Star Wars or Harry Potter or anything like that. All of that stuff is trademarked, right? And they will come after you. So, as it turns out, I mean, this person has had their Etsy account suspended before, and I don't know how they're circumventing the suspension thing right now. They're probably just not using the words in the product title, but they will be found out. I absolutely guarantee you, eventually, Etsy will find out that this person is doing it, and they will suspend their account. This is not a long-term strategy, and it is a very stupid strategy. You can get the pantsuit off of you for doing this. So, now there is, it's not a hard line in the sand where you know this is good to use and this isn't good to use, because like I said, sometimes there are things on TV that are safe to use, such as a quote from a show or the font from the TV show Friends. Lots of people are using that. They're not going to get shut down. The font, as far as I can tell, is being licensed for commercial use to people. So if you go through the steps to make, to get the license for that font, then you can use it. What you cannot use is like images of Darth Vader or Baby Yoda or any of those things, because Disney is like, they are crazy about protecting their brand. And you cannot use the names of famous people without permission. So here's an example. A long time ago, I heard some rumor that Oprah Winfrey was going to run for president in 2020. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I made a design, and it said Oprah 2020. And it made a couple of sales. But Oprah protects her name. She has trademarked her name. I don't know if that's her real name or not. It doesn't matter. She's trademarked it. You cannot use it on a product. And they basically, they'll scan Amazon and Etsy to make sure that no one's using Oprah's name in any product or anything like that. So they, filed a complaint against me. Amazon took the product down. Whatever. I learned from that. And now I just don't do that. I don't use famous people's names because I think, they own their names and they could come after you for that. Not everybody will, but is it worth taking the risk? I don't think it is. And there's plenty of amazing ideas that are not trademarked. They're not part of these, cultural entertainment organizations like Disney and Marvel. So I don't touch any of that. And some people do, and they're taking a huge risk. So don't do that. That's all I'm going to tell you. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. And, hopefully you're having a good rest of your summer here. And if you got kids, I bet you're just pining for the day that they're back to school. And if they're not, then, I pray for your soul as you homeschool again. All right, we'll talk to you next week. Cheers.